The Planet Express crew embarks on their most dangerous journey yet. Centuries ago, the planet Shopek 9 was colonized by murderous robots who will kill all humans on sight. Fry, Bender, and Leela must make a delivery to this deadly world, and so Bender is sent down on his own. But when he is captured on suspicion of being a human sympathizer, Fry and Leela are forced to disguise themselves as robots and follow to rescue him. At the heart of the robot city, they find Bender, who, after claiming he also hates humans and is an infamous killing machine, has become a local celebrity. After Bender confesses his feelings to Fry and Leela that he feels unappreciated, like they see him as more of an object and tool than a friend, they bid him farewell. But then, their deceit is revealed and they are captured. Fry and Leela are placed on trial at the robot court. The charge? Being human. Despite Leela's protestations that she is an alien, not a human, a guilty verdict for both of them swiftly follows. The robot elders demand that Bender be the one to perform the execution, but he rebuffs this order, instead giving an impassioned plea for mercy, urging them to realize that humans pose no threat. The robot elders reveal that they are aware of this fact, and that they merely use humans as a convenient scapegoat on which to blame all their society's ills, to distract the populace from their real problems, such as an extended lug nut shortage. As the trio takes their first opportunity to escape, all the robots in the city give chase. At the last moment, Bender realizes he forgot to deliver the package and drops it to the ground. The box bursts on impact, spilling its contents into the air. As precious lug nuts rain from the sky, the robots below cry out in gratitude, blessing the humans' names. Back on the ship, Fry and Leela apologize to Bender, telling him how much they appreciate his friendship. A valuable lesson has been learned. Bender may be mechanical, but he is a person with thoughts and feelings just like them. Welcome to Space Podcast 3000, where the future is in the past.
So this was a really good episode.
There were so many interesting parallels, not to just things of the past, but also things that weren't really relevant yet in the episode, especially watching it now in retrospect.
Yeah, although, like, Fry being so callous to Bender for so much of the episode does feel a bit out of character, honestly.
Some of it kind of feels like trying to be a repeat of the roommates episode.
A little bit. I mean, he's not really callous, he's just kind of oblivious. He's just kind of an idiot, really. But he just generally trying to be nice, but he's a fish out of water. He doesn't understand the future yet.
I guess. Although, in your subject with the stuff that would become expanded upon later, just Blurnsball. Blurnsball in its entirety is the funniest goddamn thing.
There's that great bit at the beginning. It's like, what was wrong with baseball? It was the American pastime. It's like, oh, you made it more interesting? Okay, let's see. Because have you ever been to an actual baseball game?
A lot of times. Yeah, we'd see the Camden River Sharks like yearly before it was disbanded.
Yeah, I saw the Mets a few times with my dad and a minor league game a couple years ago.
Yeah, I went to like one game. It was in Detroit, and it was just it was a boring ass fucking game. Because baseball is, of the professional sports, I think baseball is one of the most boring, honestly, because so much of it is just standing around doing nothing. There is so much downtime compared to like basketball, and I'm not even a huge fan of any real professional sport, but baseball has so much downtime in it, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've never really been a fan of baseball, but the Blurnsball scene is one of the funniest things. Just, like, it does have the same problem as a lot of later season Simpsons episodes, in that you have this opening act of the episode that has just nothing to do with the rest of the episode. It's just completely disconnected. But in this case, it is so freaking funny that I'm willing to let it go.
It almost does seem a bit like a joke that they might have on The Simpsons, like where the baseball thing just kind of gets out of hand.
Yeah, like, okay, did you notice any of the, like, player names on Leela's scorecard? You have your normal names like Kaplan, Lombard, Costanza, but then you also have Zork Jr., Kazijlead, Jones with Clemens' arm.
The away team was from Mars.
Were they?
Yeah, it's a Mars, whatever their team name
I didn't
was.
even notice that.
So that's something you always notice new jokes. Yeah, and I noticed like the Leela's like the scorecard that she was keeping was almost like a bowling scorecard, which I'm talking about games that are mostly just sitting down or standing around waiting for your turn. But she had like all these like different symbols on there that I'm sure don't actually mean anything. I don't think they really put too much thought into what Blurns Ball involves, but it does seem certainly much more interesting.
Yeah. To be fair, like, leaving the rules inconsistent and weird makes it all the funnier.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, the bit where Bender just catches a player with his mitt and hands him to a kid.
I got a souvenir.
Player not looking too pleased.
Well, and of course the scene wasn't completely without necessity, because it does kind of lead into the main argument that Bender's, the main character arc that all the characters are experiencing for the episode, with Bender being this feeling like he's been put upon or being mistreated as a robot. And it's just that's what robots are. They're machines built to serve humans.
Prejudice against robots.
Which, I mean, is not necessarily prejudice, because, I mean, yeah, they are kind of built to serve humans. It is kind of how they were designed. They have personalities and everything of their own, but I get that's kind of the same argument that people made for, say, slavery, but no, that there is a very distinct difference, the fact that they literally were built by humans.
Or, as Bender put it, I've never made anyone's life easier, and you know it.
Yeah, true.
The way that the Blurns Ball scene ends is such a good joke. Just that tiny little hologram Hermes getting nabbed by a pigeon.
And then in the next scene, he's all beat up and has the head wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great gag.
But, like, how does that even work? Does it...
I think that's the joke. Actually, there was one other joke from the Blurns Ball scene that I wanted to bring up. Just the player name of Wireless Joe Jackson. Because I love that.
Wireless Joe.
Or even the cold open had a really good joke with, Fry just saying, from up here a whole world can seem insignificant, and this tiny planet just splats against the windshield like an insect.
And I just love the fact that they have windshield wipers on their spaceship, which I believe do come into play later. They wipe other things off of it.
Well, you never know when you'll splat into a tiny planet like that.
Or space moth or something.
I love the robot holidays that Bender lists off, because there's some A-plus puns.
Robonica, Robomadon, Robonza.
Yeah, and then later the Robonica celebration has a beer bottle menorah in the background.
Hey, the alcohol could keep the fires lit.
They keep the fire going for 8 nights.
Yes. That line from Hermes, I respect your diversity to the extent the law requires.
Which that's just saying the quiet part loud, really.
Yeah, it's a great line.
There's a bunch of video game references in this that I enjoy. They had the Tetris bit, which was such an obvious joke, but you can see the build up for it. And it's just, oh, come on, you're gonna do this. And
that really was a great gag. Also, the repeated use of old school computer sound effects and voice synthesizers.
Yeah, the get the humanoid, get the intruder is directly taken from Berserk, which is actually one of my favorite arcade games from that era.
See, I never played Berserk, so I didn't know that, but that's great.
Well, I originally played the Atari version, which obviously didn't have the speech, but I love the Atari version. It really hasn't held, like most games of that era, hasn't held up particularly well, but it's still fine for what it is. Run around, kill robots, which is also about killing robots, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, that might be why they picked them.
Yeah.
And then there's Leela's, if only I had 2 or 3 minutes to think.
To cut to commercial.
Yeah, but because we're watching it on a DVD, there is no...
Yeah, but that's the kind of joke where it's just you appreciate it because you knew that this was originally broadcast on TV. So it's the kind of joke that, I mean, they're pointing out the fact that you're not being inconvenienced by the joke. So it's a joke that is less inconvenient on the DVD, I suppose.
I don't know. I really like that kind of joke where you're really messing with the nature of your medium in that way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like when you have something that runs in real time, like 24 or any of the 24 parodies, which, I mean, being able to do that sort of thing, I've done video editing. That is not a trivial thing to know exactly what timestamp you're at in your own video.
And in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the original printing, the joke about, Ramona's hair color because it's in black and white.
Yes, note, this comic is in black and white.
And then there's the colored re-release, it says, this joke was funnier in black and white.
Actually, what's funny with the whole 24 thing, I remember when I used to watch that with my parents, at one point my dad joked that it's funny that nothing ever seems to happen while we're away at commercial.
Which would kind of suck. Like, you come back from commercial and somebody else is dead, and it's like, wait, when did that happen? It's like, off screen. God damn it.
Yeah, but, I mean, if it was a comedy, that would have been a pretty funny thing to do.
True, yeah.
Oh, another good joke. Fry and Leela dancing the robot.
And Bender doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah, but, like, the way that the scene is presented is hilarious. Fry demonstrating his skills at doing it, and Leela's like, Fry, for one thing, take this seriously, and then for another thing, and she does it herself, doing it better than him. That's a good joke.
So I suppose, like, the main theme of this episode, obviously it is parallels to, racial segregation, specifically in its use in baseball, and then just being as second class or, like, racial supremacy over others, with robots as a stand-in for American slavery or other people of color, but it kind of loses the metaphor, probably for the better, because it obviously doesn't want to do direct parallels to this sort of thing. It wants to kind of do everything, because you also have references to, like, witch hunts or picking out a scapegoat, or, like, why this kind of stuff actually happens, which the leaders actually say you're an easy scapegoat to distract from our own governmental incompetence.
And the artificial scarcity of the lug nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up the whole racial stereotypes and scapegoating thing, because the episode's title is actually a reference to Public Enemy's 1990 album Fear of a Black Planet, which touched on a lot of these things. So there's that extra little level there.
So they really do talk into, like, why, like, fascism or any sort of racial supremacy mindset works. They start by convincing you that you should be rich and powerful and spectacular, but because of somebody else, they're the one that's taking away what's rightfully yours, which is the seed that leads to, like, white supremacy and fascism and any of this stuff. But in this case, it's, like, kind of twisted around backwards. Like, we're saying that you should be able to do whatever you want, but the robots, what exactly do the robots do all day without any humans to guide them? They say it themselves, they do mindless, repetitive tasks. What are they working to accomplish, though?
That's a good question.
Because, like, without a human, and this is actually a debate from sci-fi, it's like, when everything is automated, when there is no need for capitalism, when there is no need for labor, when all this stuff is taken care of by robots, they take care of this stuff, they take care of food production, they take care of manufacturing, there's no need for money, then humans are able to focus on culture and building art and building that kind of stuff and directing the direction that they want culture to go. And robots don't really, I'm sure they have robot leaders in this world, but robots don't really think in that terms of, well, why are we doing this and to what end are we going to do this? Like, what exactly is the purpose we're doing this for? It's like, no, we're just doing this because it's what we're programmed to do.
Yeah, they don't have the same capacity for creativity as people do.
Well, although getting into, like, stuff like AI generation and automatic stuff like that, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, but that really just is only as good as the data you feed into it.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, can we go back to the comedy? Because there were some other really amazing jokes in this episode. So many good jokes. Like the robot test.
Oh.
With the puppy, the flower, the data file. Who would fall for this?
I guess they deal with, maybe it's because they're used to humans being stupid. Because we did see how they present humans in this world with it came from planet Earth.
Yeah, the cheesy freaking robot horror movie.
Which I loved that part. That whole scene was just brilliant.
I will eat and digest you all with my system of mighty organs.
But that whole scene was just brilliant because they have a robot playing a human, which is such an absurd idea. But the fact that the guard mentions the flower would also be acceptable, and because it's from your sweetheart, so obviously robots have love. I seem to remember earlier. This may be kind of a what's the term when you have a false memory?
The Mandela effect?
Yeah, this might be a Mandela effect, but I could have sworn at one point it was like, "What are you two robots doing here?" And Leela goes, "We're on a date."
No, she does not. He's the one who.
I know she doesn't do that, but I could have sworn that happened in this episode. It might happen on a later episode. Possibly.
I don't remember that.
Because I did see this first run. So yeah, it could definitely be a Mandela effect, but because they do kind of, he does kind of get a sense that they're out together, they're trying to be alone. So oh, okay, I won't keep you two around. So it's obvious they do have romantic couples and things on this bot planet, which is, again, it's are they robots? Are they supposed to be soulless or what? Because I suppose the fact that they could have made these robots absolutely horrifying, but no, they made them goofy and they made them likable in the fact that they're really not much better off than humans. They just happen to be inorganic.
Well, it's funnier that way. And then I love how that scene ends with this robot, after learning they're human, doing the scream from Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different references to horror.
Yeah, did you notice the movie posters in the background as they're leaving the theater?
I was looking at them in the background, but they were going so fast. I would have paused it if I could.
Yeah, I noted it down. There was I Was a Teenage Human. In addition to the one that we saw, there was I Was a Teenage Human, Yenteltron, starring Barbot Streisand, and Buffbot the Human Slayer.
Wow.
And there was also the punchline of course, Leela not being able to use the 3D glasses because she's only got the one eye.
Would not folding them in half so the halves are aligned work?
You wouldn't get the effect, but it would still be able to filter it.
Oh, the billboard. Got milk? Then you're a human. It must be killed.
You're searching for the milk of human kindness.
Didn't you do a whole video about Got Milk commercials years ago, TZ?
Yes, I did, and they're still getting views.
Yeah, I have seen some on TV now and again.
Yeah, for the longest time though, it was one of the biggest. It was just some of the best advertisement on TV. They're just you would always be talking about the newest Got Milk commercial. That's what things were like in the early 2000s. We were obsessed about milk. Oh,
that line. Is it true humans bite your neck and suck out your transmission fluid and then you become a human?
So they have this, they've all... So clearly, from... I would say from birth, but from power on, they're taught that humans are these horrible monsters that will come at you, but you're a robot, you could tear them apart easily. It's what are they afraid of?
Then you have stuff like the robot elders even getting lost in their own propaganda with can humans breathe fire or did we make that up? Actually, I love the robot elders. Just silence!
Do it! Saying do it like they're Emperor Palpatine.
The robot elders are the more that I originally didn't think this episode was... this episode was fine, but I didn't read into all this subtext, but talking about it now, I was this is really a pretty brilliant episode, because they talk about how you use fear to control the masses, which works even for robots.
Oh god, there was also the joke of the human trap with the free butter, and then Bender just pointing out that, low-calorie bait is more popular these days. That's good.
What bait would you get trapped by?
Video games.
Thinking about it? Yeah, obviously. If we're just sticking to food, though, some sushi would do it.
For me, it would probably be like blueberries. I can eat so many blueberries.
Peanut butter pretzel nuggets.
Yeah, those are great.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I can eat like a whole freaking tub of those in one sitting.
Oh, absolutely. And then nothing else for the rest of the weekend to get your calorie deficit back.
I also love the joke of Bender just reading this robot porn, this pin-up, and
It's just a schematic.
It's just a circuit diagram, yeah.
Which kind of has like the vague outline of kind of a humanoid form or female form. Because it has like the two side dots and then down below it's like a kind of an upside down D.
I think my favorite joke in the whole episode, though, is just the fact that you have this like elderly robot judge, and he's just an old Apple II.
Which, I mean, for them would be an elder. It would be that's more. I don't think it's an Apple II. It's more of an Apple Macintosh because it has like the Macintosh layout and everything.
Yeah, well, I actually no, like visually, at least the design of the case is an Apple II, even if his OS is like Mac OS. Although, did you notice that his like loading bar said judging?
Right.
Yes.
And then he got hung up. It's like, and hit Control Delete. It's like, wasn't that a Windows thing?
Yeah, that is a Windows thing.
Turn it off and on again. That's always the solution.
Yeah, there were so many good jokes in this episode, but there were a couple that I think did fall a bit flat, though. Like the whole joke with Fry peeing and just trying to play that for a laugh. I don't know. I just don't find pee jokes very funny.
It does go on a little bit long, which I suppose the length of it is kind of the joke. And it's like the fact that he's trying to, why would a robot turn down searing hot resin? It's like, because I don't want you to zap me down there.
And then there's also, like, Bender making popcorn inside his chest, which that part of it's pretty funny, but then, like, squeezing butter by pushing his antenna.
Who wants butter?
Given the penis parallel we've already covered, that's kind of gross.
Which I'm sure is part of the joke.
Especially how he was holding the popcorn.
It's just, I don't like that gag.
What else can Bender do with that chest? Like, damn.
I mean, a lot, clearly.
Oh my! Or when the professor looks like he's having a heart attack. It's my pager. I thought that was a cheap. It didn't seem like they needed a gag there. I don't know.
Yeah, it felt a bit excessive. The pacing of it was also kind of off.
Yeah, it was the pacing. I think was more so than the joke itself.
Interesting bit of trivia. So the robot planet Chapek 9, that name is actually meaningful. It's named after Karel Čapek. I hope I pronounced that right. I probably mangled it. But he was the writer who, in 1921, first coined the word robot.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Cool.
Although in that original play, robots were artificial humans, not machines. But that's where the word comes from.
Well, I mean, you could sort of see the parallels there, obviously.
Yeah, ironically, it was also a robot uprising, robot apocalypse story. So right from the very beginning, that has been the nature of robot stories.
Wow.
Like, you have that whole metaphor of robots as an oppressed underclass rising up and, taking their rightful place.
Which, I mean, is an interesting way of looking at it, but really the fear here should kind of be on the other foot, the fear of robots, and not specifically robots. The robots aren't the problem. Robots are just a symptom of the problem, but the fact that automation really is the boogeyman that we, like, not maybe necessarily when the episode is written, but now automation is going to be the boogeyman that people need to be afraid of, because the automation is like, why hire a person when you just get a robot to do it, and then you have fewer jobs. And then you have the one person that is paid the exact same amount as the job that it's replacing, and now nobody has any fucking money.
Well, if you ask me, the fact that, automation taking away all of these, grunt jobs, the fact that this is something that we're afraid of rather than, something embracing that it's bad news instead of good news.
Exactly. That's the real problem. That's the real problem with capitalism. The fact that we're afraid of this, not something that we should be accepting of, or something that we should be looking forward to. Like, it doesn't mean like a robot can do this, now you don't have to work. It's like, no, a robot can do this, now you have to find a new job. That's the that's the black side, light side of it.
It's frustrating. Just like we're barreling forward into a de facto post-scarcity world. We literally already have all of the resources we need to feed, clothe, house, and give medical care to every human being on this freaking planet. And we don't because capitalism prefers to make money and destroy things rather than give them away because, hey, if you give it away, why would anyone buy it?
Exactly. And if nobody buys it, then you have no money. It's like, okay, you have no money. What is your money good for?
We're entering the self-reinforcing destructive spiral of late-stage capitalism, and no idea where we're going to go from here. But this is honestly getting a bit too heavy for a comedy podcast, honestly.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's well, we're talking about a series that had these ideas. I mean, maybe not directly had these ideas, but these are the ideas that you wanted to look at this episode with new eyes. Here we are. This is what the episode looks like in 2021.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Because automation really, as a concept is really cool. Like, especially, those food-making robots. Those are neat.
Yeah, you have all this stuff that humans no longer need to do for most of human history. We assume that would mean more time for leisure, but apparently not.
And the arts, as we brought up earlier.
Apparently, that's the problem with capitalism. And again, it all comes down to the people in charge. The people in charge are the ones that are convincing others that, no, that's not the problem. It's like, it's not that the robots are taking your jobs. It's Mexicans, or it's illegal immigrants, or it's people from other countries, or it's China. China is the ones that's taking your jobs. Like, no, you outsource the job to China because it's cheaper.
Yeah, when really, at the end of the day, the problem is them.
Yep. So yeah, I guess this was an episode that was cynical, but ahead of its time because of its cynicism, because the world has become so cynical.
I mean, honestly, these problems existed back when this episode was made. They just weren't quite as dire as they are now.
They weren't quite as egregious, yeah.
Yeah, not as pronounced.
Still, good episode. Pretty funny.
Oh yeah, this episode was a lot of fun. I like the presentation of the robots, like how they're just kind of still goofy. They're not horrific. They have their own lives. They have TV theaters. Like what robot would need TV theaters or movie theaters?
Yeah, they're presented as just metal humans, more or less.
I think this might be my favorite episode so far.
I'm still leaning towards the previous one, but we still got to have the rest of the season to go, so we'll see.
Thank you for listening to Space Podcast 3000. Your three voices of the future are Nova Altman, Doug Hancox, and Eden Valerie. The theme music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod, licensed from filmmusic.io. Find it and hundreds of other free songs at incompetech.filmmusic.io. You can hear more episodes of Space Podcast 3000 on YouTube or at soundcloud.com/spacepod3k. Follow us on Twitter at spacepod3k. Be sure to join us next time as the Planet Express crew get a taste of wealth in a fishbowl of dollars.